A Florida Republican who was defeated by 59 percentage points in a congressional special election refuses to concede. Now, this guy has definitely taken a page out of Trump's book. Let me give you the details of this race. Now, Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, a Democrat who pledged to fight for $1,000 monthly checks for Americans and who backs progressive policies such as the Green New Deal and Medicare for All, easily defeated the Republican in the race, Jason Mariner, to succeed Representative Alcee Hastings, who died in April. Now, with all the precincts reporting, she defeated Mariner, okay, 78.7% to 19.6% in Florida's 20th district, a 59.1 percentage point victory. She received 43,663 votes to her opponent's measly 10,883 votes. Okay, let's pause already because there's one quick note I want to make before we get to the clownish behavior of the loser here. It turns out that even in a red state like Florida, progressive policies tend to win because people want to experience economic stability. So remember that, especially when you consider Florida overwhelmingly passed a $15 an hour minimum wage through a ballot initiative. So when we talk about states being red states or blue states, we always talk about it in the context of culture wars because that's what both parties are hyper focused on. But if you actually run candidates who want to focus on economic justice, who want to actually do something for the workers in that state or in the country, they tend to do pretty well with the electorate. All right, so now let's get to Mariner. Mariner did not concede. He refuses to concede. In fact, he released a statement saying this: "Now they called the race. I did not win, so they say. But that does not mean that they lost either. It does not mean that we lost." No, it meant that you lost. You lost and you lost big, okay, big time. Mariner also said this. Well, he ripped a page out of Trump's book, so this will sound familiar to you all. Before the polls closed for the special election, Mariner filed a lawsuit alleging ballot issues in Broward and Palm Beach counties, the two populist Democratic-leaning jurisdictions that anchor the district. He also said, "And we'll also have some stuff coming out that we've recently discovered." Oh, okay, all right, Mike Lindell, Mr. Pillow Guy. I'm sure we'll see that evidence very, very soon. Cenk.
Yeah, so guys, this is a dangerous trend because now Republicans all across the country are saying it doesn't matter if we lost, it doesn't matter if we got annihilated. I mean, the guy got quadrupled the votes. And he's like, I don't care. I'm just gonna try to destroy democracy. Because to them, they don't care about democracy at all. You'll see them. We've shown it to you already. You'll see a lot more. They keep using the talking point that America's not a democracy, it's a republic. It's warming up to fascism. So if you lose an election, who cares? Just call it illegitimate and try to grab power anyway. Because they hate this country. They hate democracy. They just want them. They wanted to use democracy when they thought it would help them keep power. When they were the majority and they thought that, well, we can beat up the minority and we'll maintain power that way. Now that democracy is not convenient for them, they're like, let's just destroy it. Who cares? So you'll see this a lot more because Republicans are cheaters and losers, and so and they fundamentally hate this country. Now, I do want to mention one thing about this district. It's a very blue district, but remember, she also won the primary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why did she win the primary? You want to hear the great irony here? It's because there wasn't much media attention to it. If there was a lot of media attention to it, they would have lied about her because she's a progressive. They would have said, "Oh my God, do not help yourself. She wants to get you more money to the voters and help the voters and get them more health care." Oh, boo. But they forgot to smear her, so she won. Because if people find out what you're actually in favor of course the progressive's gonna win.
Yes, I'm so glad that you brought that up, Cenk. She did win the primary. And as always, you bring the perspective about the media, which is definitely valid because the media did ignore this race. But while we're definitely critical of the Republican who clearly lost and refuses to concede, I do think it's important to also give you a statement from the Democratic primary contender who is very bitter that he lost and has blamed the winner here of doing something very, very wrong, wanting to represent the actual economic interests of the voters in this district. Democratic primary contender Dale Holness, a former Broward County commissioner, filed a lawsuit in November seeking to invalidate the Democratic primary results, alleging that Cherfilus-McCormick's advocacy for universal basic income was tantamount to bribing voters.
Yeah.
It is a policy, and a policy that she would have to fight for and implement, but it's a policy. And isn't everything that every politician runs on considered a bribe when you think about it?
Yeah, no. And first of all, I had to read that quote twice because I was like, wait, is that the Republican or the Democrat?
No, it's the Democrat.
Oh no, that's the goddamn corporate Democrat who says, it's an outrage. He sued because she was planning to represent the voters. He's like, how dare she? She didn't even get permission from the corporate donors. This shouldn't be allowed. So this sumbitch takes corporate money, which are actual bribes.
Yeah.
Different companies give him money and say, do as we tell you, bitch. And he goes, that's not a bribe. That's not a bribe. And by the way, then people like him, moderate Democrats, corporate Democrats, they get into office and then they give away trillions of dollars of taxpayer money to corporations. They just passed a $780 billion defense bill, the great majority of which is going to go to defense contractors that bribe every single corporate politician, Democrats and Republicans alike. But he says that is not bribery. But God forbid you should do anything for your voters. He's like, well, that sounds like bribery to me. Amazing.
It really is amazing. It really is. I mean, these losers know how unpopular they are. And look, corporate Democrats, corporate Republicans, both sides would love nothing more than to game the system to their advantage, because neither one of them have actual policies that really improve the material conditions that Americans are dealing with today. And so, yeah, let me go after the progressive Democrat in this primary who's actually popular. And you're right, as he's collecting bribes from his corporate donors. It's really incredible stuff.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.